Hey, what's good, people, man? It's the Health and Wellness Dread, aka the Platinum Bearded Dread, yeah, man. You know what? It irritates me more than anything else when you see people that are arrogant and they think because they know stuff that they're better than others. I was helping my son, teaching my son to cook something new, to learn something. And it was almost heartbreaking watching him nervous and anxious about getting it wrong and stuff like that. And it got me really thinking that we underestimate, or should I say we overestimate, the fact that people, know stuff, all these so-called scholars and all these people who use their knowledge and their lifestyle to boast over others. We put them on a pedestal, but we forget that every one of those people at one point in their lives couldn't even crawl, man. And it took time and effort, and they had to learn it. The other thing we overlook, though, is the fact that what is more important is the teacher. There's a saying that when the student is ready, the teacher appears. But see me, I flip that around and I say when the teacher is ready, the student appears. And the reason why I say that is because the only real test of a good teacher is what that teacher produces in the student. And so if that teacher isn't ready, you're not going to get the student so that you can see the results that are needed to show that your works have paid off. If you look at all the people that had, some of the people we admire. Bob Marley, he had Mortimer Plano. Bruce Lee had Master Yip Man. Minister Farrakhan had the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. All of them had teachers who brought out something in them that made the world marvel at them. And even the word education comes from the word educare, which means to bring forth that from which is within, out. And most teachers in schools, and I'm talking from experience, are just garbage, man. They're there for a paycheck, and they know little more than the average person that's outside of the school. They've just committed their whole life to that one subject, which is why the students that come out of school are not inspired. But I want to highlight all of this with a story because I think it's important to make us realize that we can learn anything. Even if you wanted to be a neurosurgeon or a rocket scientist, we can learn anything as long as the interest is there and as long as the teacher is gifted enough to be creative. And when I say creative, meaning that tailoring the teaching to that particular individual, not one blanket way of teaching all, because everybody learns differently. Some visual, some audible, some both. There are many different ways of learning, and unlike school, that's how you can produce geniuses in young people. And it's also important for parents to take note of this, because you may be painting your child as a failure or just doesn't do well. And oftentimes has very little to do with that, but more to do with the fact that a teacher is not gifted enough to spark the imagination and creativity of your child. Now, going back to the story now. When I was in school, I was always at the back messing around, particularly when it came to maths. Don't get me wrong, I liked other subjects like history and English, but when it came to maths, for some reason or another, it just intimidated me. So I just sit at the back and mess around. And the maths teacher, he knew that, so he just paid no attention to me. And not long after, a new boy entered the class. And I was always one of those young people that I'd always befriend the new ones. I don't know why it was, always. Every time someone new came to class, I was there and became close friends with them. And in this case, it was no different. It was a small little short boy from Venezuela called Henry. Not long after, we began to realize that this young boy was a genius, man, particularly at maths. I mean, he would be correcting the teachers humbly, not with arrogance, but he would humbly correct the teachers. And I'd be like, wow, man. And it was quite funny because we had to giggle when you see the teachers going red, knowing that what he said was correct. And I sat back and I thought, look at that. Because the contrast between his whole approach to maths and my thoughts about it. So one day I said to him, ain't maths hard? How do you do that? And he said to me, I could teach you. And I laughed and said, yeah, right. But then I thought, let me take him up on his offer, because I ain't got nothing to lose. We hang out with each other all the time. So 2-2s, he started teaching me after school. We'd be in the library, you know, any little spare time and stuff like that. And I went from sitting at the back to sitting at the front of him. Even the maths teacher was looking at me side-eye, wondering what's going on here. But anyway, and slowly I was getting more ticks than crosses. And when it came to, and the amazing thing was I was actually enjoying it. You know, I was actually enjoying the learning. It wasn't like me to stay behind after school for maths, never in a million years. But I was actually looking forward to it and learning, and we was hanging out together, going lunch together. And then when exam time came, you have to understand that whenever I got my results for maths, it was always something around 17%, if that, out of 100. But when I got my results this time around, it was somewhere in the region of 68%. Now, trust and believe, man, I was shocked, not because it was so high, but because I was starting to build confidence. But I was still shocked at the fact that this was my work. And even when the maths teacher saw it, his glasses nearly fell off his head. But then what happened not shortly after that is that my friend Henry, he had to leave. He had to go back to his country. And I remember walking back to his house with him. It was the longest and the saddest walk ever, man. Knowing that I wasn't going to see him ever again after I dropped him home. And I'll never forget his last words. He gave me a hug and said, "See you in heaven." And that was it, man. That was the last time I saw him. And then lo and behold, my grades in maths slipped further and further and further and further to the bottom, until I ended up doing like 17%, 16% in maths again, and lost complete interest. But what that taught me was that it wasn't that I was incapable. It was simply because no teacher was able to spark that creativity and imagination in me and instill the confidence. And it took a small, short little boy, same age as me at the time, 14, that was able to do that. So don't let anyone ever make you feel that you can't do something. Turn it around and remember, the teacher has to be worthy of you, not the other way around. To prove that they are worthy of being a teacher, they have to be worthy of you. So you're looking at them and you're testing them to see whether they can produce the greatness that is within you. Anyway, hope this all makes sense. Let me know your comments, man. Drop them down, because I always read them and I always reply. Meanwhile, it's Health and Wellness Dread, aka the Platinum Bearded Dread, signing off. Yeah, man.